We are live on Facebook now, Mike.
Yeah, cool.
Thanks for joining me this morning.
Yeah.
You're the owner of the Local Ladle, a great little self-employment, small business right here in town, and your specialty is soup, from what I understand.
Mm-hmm.
And so I actually picked up a couple quarts of yours this last week, and I found them to be very, very good. My two favorites are the white bean and kale, and then the cheeseburger one. I haven't tried the bacon and potato one yet, but that one's next on the list.
I think you should be excited for that one too. That's been a bit, just ramps are special and neat, fun to have this time of year.
Yeah. Now explain to me a little bit about those. You call them rants?
Ramps. Like a skateboard ramp. So I was somewhat, unfamiliar, but I would know they would have them on at 8.5 around this time of year, and it was like $17 for a thing of roast, like for a dozen roasted ramps. I was like, what are these things? And they were good, but they're so expensive, and I just piqued my curiosity. I think that was a couple years ago. And then last year, we live right around the corner from 8.5, and we saw, it's a little takeout Italian place. We saw this guy with a whole bunch of bins in his back of his junky old Volvo station wagon. And I was like, what has he got there? And I kind of peeked over and looked at it, and he had gone up to West Virginia and got a bunch of rams. And the way he did it, he would go and stay the night, wake up first in the morning, pick them, and then drive straight into Richmond and deliver them to restaurants, as he had a couple connections in places. And so he had extras in there, so I bought some from him and made some soup last year. And I was thinking in my head, I was like, it's about that time of year, right? I kind of couldn't remember when was when. And I found the guy, Andrew's number in my phone still, just by searching for ramps. That popped up even from a year ago. And it was exactly a year ago I had texted him. So I was like, oh, this is the time of year. I texted him, asked if he was going again. And he said with 8.5 being closed and lots of restaurants being closed, he wasn't sure if it was worth it for his time to go, but he would send me the coordinates. So he did. And so I took a 4-hour trip to West Virginia. And the first time I went, the exact spot where he told me to go, there were hardly any. And I spent like 3 hours and had about 5 of them, and was like, this is a long trip for maybe a dinner's worth. And then I started poking around and pulling off in different spots. And then I found my own patch that hopefully I can go back for years now too. So I've been back a second time. It's just, they're this like they're called wild leeks sometimes, or wild onion. They're like a garlicky leek onion sort of thing. But the bulb is in the ground, and it's like kind of like bunny ear leaves grow up, and they grow in this really loose soil around where like a bunch of trees are down. So it's near impossible to farm them, because it's in just growthy area. Like it just doesn't really work. There's a couple people who try, but it's inconsistent, and you can't plow it or anything, because it has to be with all these trees around. So that what makes them kind of extra special. But so I've been up twice. It's been.
So you're actually going up and picking these yourself?
Yeah. I drove. You take a shovel or a little like this other kind of pickaxey looking, I don't even know what you call it, but and you just got to get it under the bottom, and then you just sort of lift them up out, and then you just put them in the bag. And I mean, it is backbreaking work, but they come out pretty easy. But they're always on these slopes, so it was a blast trying to figure out where they are. It took me a while. I kind of realized like they're never going to be where evergreens are, because they have their own growth, and there are these different spots that you know not to look, and then you finally realize like, oh, this is kind of the place where they're going to be. And I've been twice. It's been a blast. It's a very nice change of pace of something to go do.
That's pretty interesting. So how did you get into your small business? Because if I remember right, you were in corporate before.
Yeah.
You pretty much had enough of corporate, and man, you're out trying to make this happen.
Yeah. I just I decided to transition. Took a year in doing it, and planning things out while still keeping my corporate accounting, or not really corporate anymore, just my industry accounting job, and decided to it wasn't exactly sure when to launch, but decided that you got to go do it sometime, basically, and been doing it for about a year. And this has certainly thrown a wrinkle in things, but it's been a joy. It's been picking up steam, figuring out how to do all this. But so the business model had been going to office parks for lunches, basically, like what in sort of I thought is it wanted to be quick, cheap service, which a lot of food trucks you have to order and then sit there and wait. And that's not, I was looking for ones like Christopher's Gourmet, where you just order it, they hand it to you, and you're off. And then you can get back in your office. You don't have to take a bunch of time. So that's what I've been trying to, was the idea. And that was going fine. But most of the offices that I've been going to aren't really viable, or there are not enough people in there to make it worth it anymore. So I've shifted to delivering to homes, which it's a different thing, and it's not fully there yet, but it's one part of it is very nice. It is exact ordering. Whereas when you take the truck out, some days you just have not that many people come, and you'd have so much left over, or more people than you thought would come, and you wouldn't have enough, and you see all these sales you missed, you'd be so mad. It's taken that frustration away, but it still isn't, there still isn't the volume yet. But there are a lot of other food trucks have started doing, like, going to neighborhoods, going to cul-de-sacs and stuff, and doing that way, which I think I'll get to eventually. But I wasn't quite like the first I heard of it like a month ago. It's just like, am I going out to shake hands with 50 people right now? Like, I'm not a frontline, I'm not necessary just yet. But I think as we ease up, that will probably be, because offices seem a long way away.
Right. Yeah. Well, a lot of people I know my son, he works in Innsbruck in an accounting firm. And they're going back on a limited basis starting on Monday. So I'm sure that some of us are going to start going back, but I know that.
But if it's, it will be interesting, because maybe it will be that people there will be extra excited that a food truck did come.
Mm-hmm.
Feels like it's most of the spots that were good spots with significantly less people there are no longer a good spot.
So how did you pick? I mean, it sounds like a really interesting model that you selected, because it's like a grab and go in essence. You have it already made. I mean, the soups are by far the most tasty soups I've ever had.
Yeah, good.
They're amazing. They're really good. But how did you arrive at that specific model? It sounds like the grab and go was idea, but have you always been really big on making soups? Is that how you kind of?
Yeah, my old boss who lives in New York now, she likes to take credit, because I didn't notice this about myself, but she, this was 5 years ago or something. She was trying to find a simple, office friend Christmas present to give someone, and she was like looking through cookbooks, things. I like to cook. She was like, wait, he has soup almost every single day. I'm going to give him some soup books. And it had not occurred to me really either that I had it that much and was into it that much. So she sort of likes to self-aggrandize, or doesn't say that she was the one who planted the seed in my head to get going like that. But yeah, my mom made them a lot growing up, and I'm not a talented, fancy chef that's, that's going to make a foam reduction, blah, 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 that kind of side. I don't have it like perfected, but just I really like making stock, and then really like the way to try and be blending flavors to make for soups and stuff. This is sort of what I've always really liked doing.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing that you've done that, and you've gotten it into a food truck scenario now, and you've left the corporate world. Mm-hmm. And as you've left the corporate world, I think it was about 2 years ago now that you left corporate, somewhere in that area, and you started your food truck. Is that about right?
About a year.
About a year now? Yeah. Okay. And then all of a sudden, we're stuck at home.
Yeah.
And so as a small business owner, you're trying to take care of your family, trying to pay the bills, trying to get everything happening at the same time. What are I saw your Facebook page. I saw your emails, obviously, because I know you from another life.
Yeah.
And so this is, I've been to your food, I ordered from you on the last one. What kind what kind of ways do you have for people to get in touch with you to try to support your small business?
That is, it's been a lot of word of mouth and sort of the simple social media ways. Like I haven't really, I tried kind of going around to just in offices in general and didn't have the greatest luck. It's been better with, as always, it's better with a warm intro with somebody who is a fan anyway. When you just are going in general, you just sort of get some blank looks back. So I've been, it's been a lot of just trying to and then you just got to kind of get granular and go individual email to people, and be like, do you know anyone else in your office that has events that they would like to do? The way different, the same as a lot of sales, I guess. Yeah, just sort of personalizing it, talking about something else, and then be like, and by the way, kid, what do you got cooking that I could use? And which is, often met with nothing. A lot of people don't have any offices that they know the office manager of or anything like that. But then the occasional one that does hit, you're like, oh, great. And then you get, because a big catering order doing a bunch of those would be the best, because that's the same thing where you're not having any waste. You're just doing the exact amount. And I can do that, but I figured out how to get to where the trucks are, because there's a sort of a system already in place there. The Street Food Finder is a big app and website that is really helpful for all the food trucks. I don't know how they did it before that, but it's interestingly sort of everyone has adopted, and not every, but many of the people who plan food trucks all work through there, and it works great. But the other versions of other ways to keep it going, I'm still figuring out.
So what are you finding with trying to get products out there? Has your menu gotten any more limited? I mean, we can't even find toilet paper at some point in time in some of these stores. So menu and ingredients.
So Restaurant Depot is where I get a lot of produce, and they don't have toilet paper or paper towels, and then you'll go one day and then there's no beef. But then the next day that it's there again. So it's been, they're having the same problems everywhere else, but they have so much more of everything. It feels like they're not running out as often, I guess. So I've only once had to just fully scrap a recipe, a plan that I was going to make for something that week, because I could not find the right sausage. It's like, I'm not gonna make it with something else to try for the first time. But I feel like there are additional challenges to come along with that. I mean,
what do you foresee? I mean, what do you see on the way out of this? Because it sounds like, this weekend we're starting to open up in the rest of real estate. Most of Virginia is starting to open up. I know the city still isn't opening up for a few more weeks. What do you kind of see as your path out of this for you and your family?
I'm not clear enough on what I think new office spaces. When I read that Twitter told their employees that they never have to come back to the office, I was like, oh, I had that the thought had crossed my mind that everyone realized that they could work from home and they'll never go back. But a big corporation like that proclaiming that was a kind of and I don't even know if anyone is really, if that was just a thing they said and everyone actually is going to go back, but that got me a little bit like, oh, the whole office park landscape could be drastically different. I don't know. I'm not really sure, whatever, but I am not sure enough of what I think is happening in the world at large to know what I think is going to happen for me, but got a couple different ways that we can pivot and do things.
Okay, so what would be a couple of those ways that for me, I got to tell you that receiving that email from you and being able to put an order in and then just come pick up the 4 quarts.
Yeah.
Already frozen. I didn't have to do anything with it. I just threw them in there and we popped a couple of them out. The kale and white bean we popped out, and we popped out the cheeseburger, and that was a hit. Just trying to go through those.
What I'd like to do is have some sort of a soup loop or something where it's just you're on a recurring every 2 weeks. You get 4 quarts or whatever that is. And it could be sort of you could be that it would be a standing order. You get the same ones, or somehow you go in and click through what you want, or it's just whatever I pick, it's just dealer's choice sort of thing too. But it'd be wonderful if it was just a continuous stream. But I was reluctant to start that fully as I was doing the truck too, because that just needs a lot of moving parts.
A lot of logistics, yeah.
Yeah, and the truck itself is, it's, you kind of got to geared up for it every time, and then just come right back and be like, okay, now I'm going to do all these logistical deliveries too, right as I just get back from that. But if offices stay as dormant as they've been, then that is what I would love. A subscription service of some kind would be the
Have there been any stores that have been interested in your product too? Because I got to tell you, I can't imagine it not being able to go into retail as good as it is.
So we tried, thought of a couple, I know the people who own Shields Market, but they sell Joe's in food, and Joe's has their own soups. So it's kind of like there's a little toe stepping to have happened there. And I did it. They were in at the Growlers to Go out west. They have they sell some alcohol on site, so they have to sell some food. And the guy just kept getting dinged. He was not selling enough food, so we put some in there for a little while. But then they're in the process of closing that down. But that was a spot where it got in. And then Truckle Cheesemongers is in Busy Bee, the brewery, the cidery, I guess, in Scott's Addition. And so they sell they're a cheesemonger, but they sell grilled cheeses too. So we put some soups in there to go with them. So that's another sort of just trying to kind of plug and chug and anything like that we can find. Got it.
Okay, well, that's pretty awesome that you've got that. And so as far as for the community at large, it's probably either watching this or going to be watching this. What is one way to get a hold of you? Do you have, I know you have a place on Facebook,
yep.
Local Ladle, which is really central to here in Virginia. What other way would somebody be able to get a hold of you?
Yeah, so the Facebook, and then Local Ladle RVA at Gmail would be, that's probably the best way too. Just so the email or just any, posting the time or email in inbox or messenger on Facebook or anything works great too.
Okay, and so that email again is what again?
Local Ladle LOCALLADLE RVA at Gmail.
Okay, fantastic. So that's a great way to get a hold of you. And talk to me about your offerings. I mean, I've had 3 of them. I know you had a chili. I know you've had the white bean and kale, and the cheese.
Kale is what got me started. I won a few contests, and that's kind of, I think, what pushed me over the edge of wanting to do it. Just like entering a soup contest and winning out of 30 and being like, yeah, all right, and just knowing how easy it is for making, how kind of cheap it is to make, but how good it kind of ends up being. I was like, that's what kind of got gears grinding. But so that's been the most popular. That's the steady. I always have that because it's healthy and hearty, and it's almost the pin up, exactly what I'm sort of trying to offer.
Which one is that?
The sausage white bean and kale.
Oh, the sausage white. Yeah, that's
sort of the old everything's built around that, I guess you could say. Then I always try and have a vegetarian option, which is usually curried zucchini, but I have tomato right now, and that shifts around some. And then, but for the cheeseburger, I was just trying to make, neither of my children particularly like any of the soups, which is a little
yeah, because there's that French fries and nuggets with it, right?
Yeah. But so I was trying to create things that they would like. And so cheeseburger soup was very whimsically, just like almost as a joke, just trying to make something that they would eat. They do not eat it, but nevertheless, I still served it. And I did it with putting pickles and French fries on top. And that has become the most popular on the truck, probably.
Yeah. I mean, the first time I had it, I got to say, I was like, oh, French fries and a pickle on top of the soup. And it was like, but I got to tell you, it was so tasty that it was pretty amazing.
Yeah. So that's sort of become the most popular. And then rotate through just, different ones that I just kind of get, my heart set on for different times. But coq au vin is just like the French, just like chicken and wine with mushrooms and stuff. And that's really, really good. And I'm making the next week. I'm having and then when we've had these ramps in town, those have been very popular. And those have been fun to just try a bunch of different ways and put in things because they're just a unique flavor. It's something different no matter what. But I'm debuting next week Ciopino, which is my favorite soup that there is, and maybe my favorite food that there is, and which is usually at a fancier restaurant. It's with shell, it's like a tomato-based soup with shrimp and fish and oysters and mussels and like a sort of everything sort of in there. That's like the idea of it was the Italian seafarers, I guess, or fishermen and everything in San Francisco. When they get back to the dock, they'd sell what they sold and they'd keep the little pieces for themselves. And they'd all throw it in a pot together with a bunch of tomatoes and spices. And it's so that's always been my favorite. But I've been not sure how to serve that because I'm not going to have a shelled clam in a truck.
Right.
But so I finally, and my wife does not particularly like most seafood and just seafood soup. So it's been hard to taste test with someone else. But I realized that my neighbor, the Ciopino, is also his favorite dish too. So we've been gone through about 6 rounds of it, and I've got something ready for market I'm excited about to do next week.
Well, that sounds pretty good. Well, this is exciting. So in summary, just a way to, as we wrap this up, what is it, the 2 things that you want the people to know as we're coming out this to support small business like yourself? What would be 2 things that you can share with them?
Well, I would appreciate any orders, I guess, if you would reach out and be part of the group. I would love to serve and get soup out to as many people as I could. It's been very popular. People are happy with their orders. And then I suppose I just want to figure out if anybody else knows what's going to happen in the future. I would like them to let me know. Okay.
So 2 ways to get a hold of you. They can go to your Facebook page, the Local Ladle RVA, yep. And then the email address again is
localladlerva@gmail.com.
localladlerva@gmail.com. Well, Mike, it's been a pleasure to have you on here. I look forward to having more of your soup later on today. I'm going to finish off that kale and bean.
All right.
Try that ramps up here shortly, probably in the next day or so. So
yeah, cool. Enjoy.
Thanks so much for joining me.
Yeah. We'll see you soon.
Sounds good. Thanks so much.
Yeah.
All right. Bye-bye.
Yeah.